We're going to jump right in. So, hey everybody, it's Julian Gordon, and I want to welcome you to Frameworks for Freedom, a brand new show to help you navigate this new entrepreneur reality that we are all living in. Whether you're an employer or entrepreneur, the reality is that we are all already entrepreneurs, whether you like it or not. An employee is simply an entrepreneur with one big client. Now, if you're anything like me, you did everything you were supposed to. Be good, get good grades, go to good school, get a good job, make some good money. And even after checking off all those boxes and checking them off extremely fast, many of us still don't feel free. And so this show is really about sharing my journey towards freedom. Every day I'm feeling more and more free. I'm not rich, but I do feel free, and I want that feeling to be for everyone. I believe in freedom for all, and if you believe in freedom for all, I consider you to be part of my tribe of freedom finders. You can find us, the Freedom Finders, at freeme.tv. If this is your first time joining us, if you go here, put in your name and email address, that will invite you into our community and give you some freedom tools that will actually help you get more and more free based on wherever you are in your life. I know millionaires who don't feel free. I know people who are broke who don't feel free. I know people who graduated from college who don't feel free. I know a lot of smart, hardworking, brilliant, amazing people who still don't feel free. And so if freedom was actually the goal, and you knew what you did, what you know right now, how would you redesign your life? And we're not going to start over, right? But we have to start making new choices from this moment on here today. Now, this show is every Tuesdays and Thursday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we go as long as the teaching takes, as long as you are here, as long as you are getting value. That's what this is all about. This is just me sharing my journey. And because what I found is that while I am getting more and more free, freedom is actually boring alone. You know, they have this idea of it's lonely at the top. Who wants to be lonely, right? And so I am trying to take as many people on this journey with me. I'm not completely free. I'm on this journey, but I want to bring as many people with me based on where I am. Because I think I've been able to achieve some things that I would love for you to also have and experience in your life. So every episode, I share a new framework with you to help you get more and more free. And again, this is not about getting free. This is about being free first, right? Getting free is external. Being free is internal. See, you can actually get free, but if you're not free up here first, right? Then even if you have all this unlimited possibility and choice around you, you still feel like a slave up here, then you don't actually feel the freedom. So we start with being first, then we get into doing and having from there. And so today is really key because we're going to talk about the 8 laws of soft work. We've been sold this narrative that it's actually about hard work and the hardest working people are the most successful, and that's absolutely not true. And I'll prove it to you. The hardest worker, right? The hardest worker does not always win. Point blank. The hardest worker does not always win. How many of you out there actually know that you work harder than somebody else, but they're actually having more success in terms of pay, promotion, finances, profitability, performance than you? How many of you out there? Just type yes. You know that you actually work harder than a lot of people who are actually more quote unquote successful than you. And of course, I don't like to compare success. Everybody's definition of success is different. But how many of you out there know that you actually work harder than somebody, but for some reason, they are actually experiencing more quote unquote success than you? Just type yes in the chat. Okay. See, feed is frozen. Please try to refresh. Ty can hear me. Deborah can hear me. Cheryl, cool. So great. We all know of somebody who we are working harder than, but for some reason they are experiencing greater success than us, right? So point blank, the hardest worker does not always win, but the winner does work hard. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. The hardest worker does not always win, but the winner does work hard. So we need to figure out how to be a winner because it's obvious based on our own experiences that there are people who are not working as hard as us who are experiencing greater results than us. Okay, and so that's what the 8 laws of soft work is all about. Before we get into that, I want to share with you. Some upcoming episodes, and I want to take a quick vote. Last time we did this at the end. This time I actually want to do it on the front end so that I know what to be positioning us for in terms of this journey that we're on together with the Framework for Freedom show. So can you all see this? Yes, you can all see this. So I need you to type in the comments which episode you want me to do after this one. Okay. So we have the fourfold path to freedom. This one is really valuable. It's going to be about, even if you weren't born into wealth, how do you actually get free? It's the fourfold path. It's very powerful. And so that's one that you can vote on. You can type that into the chat. The 6 types of people in your life, the 3 that you need to let go of, and the 3 that you need to keep and be closer to. Okay. The winners and losers in this entrepreneur reality. Yesterday or Tuesday, we talked about what the game is, but I want to show you some of the characteristics, personality traits, and things that the winners in this entrepreneur reality do versus the losers. The next is how to train people, how to treat you. As you can see, there are already some votes from Tuesday's chat. Excuse me. And then finally, 5 questions to get what you want. A lot of people don't know what they want. Many of us know what we don't want, but these 5 questions will help you get clear on what you actually do want. One of the reasons we don't feel free is because we have no clue what we want, right? We're trying to drive extremely fast to this destination that's undefined. And so it's really important to get clear on what you want. How to ask for help. A lot of people try to get free on their own, and that's cool, and you can keep on trying, but usually freedom comes with the support of others, not waiting on a savior or anything like that, right? Because I believe that you can have freedom now, but it usually comes through an insight given to you by someone in close proximity. So the more you ask for help, actually, the freer you get. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's true, and I want to show you how to actually ask for help that moves you and your life forward. 7 ways to decrease the demand. The demand of life continue to increase and accelerate, whether it's your demands at work, running your company, whether it's demands at home. It's only increasing, and the world is evolving even faster and faster and faster. So the question is, how do we actually slow this ship down before we all burn out? And so I want to show you 7 ways to decrease the demand. 5 criteria for problems worth solving. 5 criteria for problems worth solving. The world's most wealthiest people, they all solve big problems. What did Bill Gates do? He solved a big problem. So the bigger the problem you solve, the more potential for opportunity for you. If you're solving small problems that a lot of other people can solve, and we talked about this with the skills values matrix, right? If you're solving problems that other people can solve, then it's going to be really hard to capture a lot of value. The bigger and more specific the problem is that you decide to dedicate your life to solving, the more you'll be able to benefit from that. And then 4 ways to leave your legacy. If those of you are already thinking about your legacy and want to reverse engineer your life from your legacy, we could discuss that. And then here we are today on the 8 laws of soft work. So go ahead and type in your answers into the chat. And this is going to shape the episodes and the sequence for this season. This season 1 of Frameworks for Freedom is going to be 8 episodes. So we will be together for another 3.5 weeks, today and then 3 weeks after that. Okay, we'll see how the response is. We'll see how it gets shared. We'll see all the love and the comments. And if everything's going well, you know what? I'm happy to keep on doing it. If you're learning, if you feel like you're getting more free, you feel like you're getting mental breakthroughs, then I'm happy to continue to do this and give and serve in this way. Right? I have all these frameworks. I have over 50 frameworks that I'm ready to share with you right now. Right? But I want to break them up into bite-sized pieces. And so we created this lunch of breakthrough for you to experience that. There's a quote that you'll hear me reference a lot that says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? A lot of people are waiting to try to hit 6 figures or $1 million to get free. And I'm telling you, that is not what freedom is. Freedom starts with the renewing of your mind. And that's what frameworks do. Frameworks provide a lens through which you can look at your own life, right? And see, understand who you are, why you are where you are, and then what to do next. So frameworks are powerful. That's why I love them. That's why I think in terms of frameworks. Other words for frameworks are methods. Other things for frameworks are formulas, concepts, right? Food pyramid is a framework that you've used, and sometimes we outgrow frameworks. So frameworks help us look at our life in the moment and see where we are and how to move forward. Okay? So my team is here. Amparo, Ginger, and other people are here from my team, and we will be calculating all of these, and your votes will get counted, and that will determine what our episode will be on Tuesday. Okay? Cool. So time to get into it. time to get into it. The 8 laws of soft work. Okay, so just to redefine, soft work means finding the easiest way to get the right work done. Finding the easiest way to get the right work done. On Tuesday, I talked about Uber, right? Uber said traditionally to build a transportation company, you would have to go get a whole bunch of vehicles, whole bunch of taxi cabs, buses, vans, etc., right? Get all this inventory and physical capital, and then go find drivers, train them, etc., etc., etc. And that's how you build a transportation company. Uber said, no, we're going to find the easiest way to get the right work done. What is missing in this market? Riders want drivers, and they want them fast. And so how can we leverage an easier format rather than going and buying and spending all this money or even having to raise all this money to buy this physical stuff? How about we create an app that allows people who are willing to drive to pick up riders immediately in their locale, right, around them? Uber essentially found an easier way to get the right work done, right? This is what working softer means. Does it mean that there's no hard work going on at Uber? No. But from a high level, they cracked the code, right? Which was traditionally you need to go do this, and this in order to get to this result. They said, no, we're going to X that out, X that out, X that out, X that out. That's what people have done in the past. This is where the specific need is, right? And so when you think about soft work, you may have heard the 80-20 principle. That is a framework, that is a formula in which to look at your life and your work. And the 80-20 principle says that 80% of your results typically come from 20% of your actions. 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. So here we are having a 40, 60-hour work week. And the reality is that 80% of our real results, the results that matter, only come from 8 to 12 hours, right? So what if we took that 20% of time and we did that 100% of time? What if we took the work that was actually mattering, the work that was actually leading to impact, and did that 100% of the time? That would create all kinds of possibility. And so what we need to do with soft work is identify what is the right work. And so I want to guide you through the 8 laws of soft work so that you understand and can look at what you're doing on a daily basis, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, and say, is this the actual right work to be doing at this particular moment? Okay? So, so here we go. So first and foremost is one. Are you the right person to do the work? This is who. Okay? This is who. Okay? So many of you are smart, talented. You can do almost anything. I believe it. I know it. You can learn something. You can go to Google, YouTube, try to pick up a new skill. But a lot of us, what we tend to do is we get great at things that we absolutely hate. We get great at things that we absolutely hate. How many of you agree with that? How many of you have gotten great at something that you absolutely hate, right? Now, the thing is, you could have gotten great at anything that you wanted to get great at. But instead, we get great at things that we hate. And when you get great at something, what tends to happen? You would tend to attract more of what you actually hate. So why not get great at something that you actually love? Something that's aligned with who you are and what you want to do in the world. So just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do it. There's a lot of people out there who can be a lawyer. They can be a doctor. The traditional career paths are out there. I know all of you could if you really wanted to, but just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it, right? So the right work means finding work that is aligned with your purpose and aligned with your passion. Work that doesn't feel like work. That's what soft work really is. It's so aligned with who you are that it doesn't even feel like work, right? So that's the first law. The second law is doing the right action. This is the what. Okay? So this goes back to the 80-20 rule, right? So if I know that 20% of my actions create 80% of my results, why would I spend all this other time doing minutia? See, a lot of people, I've been guilty of being a workaholic, right? Many of you know my story. And I found that I was doing busy work and not doing business. I was doing a lot of busy work and not doing business. Today, if you go look at my social media history, right, you will see early on, I was trying to be on there, trying to pose, trying to do this, put up quotes and things of that nature. And that's cool. And some people win that way. But what I found is that there was no correlation between how I was showing up on social media and my business revenue. And so what did I do? I turned that down, right? And all of a sudden, what occurred? My business revenue started going up because I was focused on something that was more important. I was focused on the core. Do I still want to be on social media? Yeah, I'm on social media right now talking to you. But I wasn't being on there how do you say the word? Superfluously, right? I wasn't just on there just posting whenever for whatever reason without any intention. Now I'm more strategic about how I use social media as a tool. And we're going to get to talking about tools in just a second. Okay? And so doing the right action. Many of you know what moves the needle in the work that you do, and then you know things that don't move the needle. Some people are trying to get to inbox 0 on their email account, and guess what? My business grows when my unread emails go up. My business grows when my unread emails go up. There was a point in my life where I tried to have inbox 0. I tried to process every single email that came to me. And guess what? Every single email that comes to me is not important. And so inbox 0 is no longer my goal. There's a tons of unread emails there, and my business has continued to grow, right? So sometimes we have these false metrics, like feeling like, oh, I cleared out my inbox today. I was productive. But if it didn't move the needle on the metrics that actually matter, right? If they didn't move you towards winning, then that doesn't matter. And so we have to make sure that we are taking the right action. And for me, in my business, the right action means 1, creating content, 2, meeting new people, right? And attracting the right ideal clients. And then 3, making offers. That's what I do. Those are the 3 things that I need to be focused on a daily basis. Anything outside of that, I need to delegate, automate, or outsource to someone else, right? I should not be designing my website. I should not be editing my book. And yes, there may be times when at the beginning where you don't have the capital, where you have to do those things. If you're an employee and you don't have anybody under you, sometimes you have to grind and do these things that you know have no impact on what your employer actually hired you for. And those are things that you have to negotiate. Right? Those are things that you have to negotiate if you want to engage in soft work. Okay? So next is 3. Excuse my cough, everyone. For the right reason. Is the work you're doing, are you doing it for the right reason? This is your why. If you are doing work that is not aligned with who you are, it's going to be really hard for it to feel like soft work. It's going to feel like hard work, no matter how much you get paid. Okay? And that's for employees and entrepreneurs. You see, if we are running a marathon, there's tons of reasons that we can run a marathon. We can run a marathon to win. We can run a marathon to raise money. We can run a marathon for health. We can run it just to be with friends. We can run a marathon just to check it off our bucket list. There's tons of reasons that we can. Let me see. Are we still live? Saw something. Somebody said it froze up. I'm just double checking. Okay, we're good. Thank you. Cool. There's tons of reasons that you could run a marathon. But guess what? The only reason that matters is your reason. The only reason that matters is your reason. Because look, if you are actually running a marathon to raise money for a cause that you believe in, but you're comparing yourself to the person who's trying to win the race, which is probably a Kenyan or Ethiopian out there in the front always, right? If you're comparing yourself to somebody who has a different reason or intention than you for running a marathon, you will always feel behind. And it will feel like hard work. You will judge yourself, all due to comparison. Comparison is the killer of happiness. Okay? And so you have to be clear on the reason why you're doing it. If you're in a job and you don't really like it, but you know you're doing it because you are have to pay for your kids' tuition, right? Then that is your reason. Your reason isn't really there for the employer. You have to create a bigger why for the work that you're doing. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're just in it for the money, it's going to feel like hard work because the money is not what satisfies you. It's the impact and the transformation on the people's lives that you touch, right? It's the client stories, those emails that you get back, those phone calls, those thank you cards. That's where the joy and the fulfillment comes from. It's not the money, right? So you have to be doing it for the right reasons. Otherwise, it feels like hard work. Next is, are you guys all with me? Are y'all with me? Say repeat those 3 things. Just checking that you're all with me. Okay, cool. So let me know that you're with me in the chat. Cool. Thank you, Takia. Thank you for typing those for everyone. Number 4 is doing it with the right effort. The right effort. This one is crazy. And I'm going to show you why. How hard. You know, in the NBA right now, there's this debate. There's this debate around resting players, right? And the NBA is cracking down, and Adam Silver, I think, who runs the NBA, is saying, you know, you got to play. The fans want it, this and that. But when you think about the players, what is the players' number one goal? What is a win for the players? It's actually winning the NBA championship. It's not showing up for fans. Yes, showing up for fans is important, but it's secondary. The number one thing that they want to do is hold up that, I think it's called the Larry O'Brien Trophy, at the end of the season. And so as we're in the second half of the season, and there are about, 12 to 15 games left, a lot of great teams are going on their rest program. They're sitting out their best players so that they can rest. They can get their body back for the games that matter in the playoffs, right? We saw it with the Golden State Warriors last year. They went to get this record, right? This 73-win record to beat the Chicago Bulls. And what happened? They got into the playoffs. They struggled in the playoffs. They were down to OKC 3-1, and they amazingly came back from there. But what if they weren't focused on having the most winning season ever, and they were actually focused on winning the championship? They tried to have both. And when they were trying to have both, they ended up losing one. Okay? And so you've seen Greg Popovich, the San Antonio Spurs, do this for a long time, resting his older players like Ginobili and Tim Duncan and Tony Parker, resting them against teams that he knew he was going to end up seeing in the playoffs, right? I'm not going to stress out my players. My number one goal is to win a championship. And so we all have to get clear in our mind, what does a win look like, right? What does a win look like? It's not how many hours I show up at my desk. We have to apply the right amount of effort. And the right amount of effort isn't always the most effort. That's where people get twisted. See, there's this narrative out there of, always give 110%. That is the most terrible advice that anyone could ever give you or that you could ever have. Always give 110%. First and foremost, there's no such thing as 110%. The only thing you can give is 100% of what you have. And if there are times where you feel like you're going above and beyond, you know what it does? After that moment that you went above and beyond, you have to go rest and recover. So you can only give 90, 80, 70% after that because you went above and beyond and you tapped into resources that you didn't really have. It's like going into debt energetically. Okay? And so you have to give the right amount of effort that the moment requires. You know, if you look at nature, I reference nature a lot. Water only responds to the degree necessary. Right? When you throw a rock into the water, what happens? It ripples maybe 3 times and it stops. It doesn't create a big wave when you throw in one little pebble, right? Water only responds to the degree necessary, right? And so oftentimes we think that working hard is, I need to be pushing it, I need to be grinding all the time. Well, for me, I know that my business and my work cycle is seasonal. In the fall, I go extremely hard, right? And I know that it's been a season for me for the past 7 years. Right? But then there are other times where I can be still, be thinking, and be strategic. It's not about putting the pedal to the metal at all times. And that's what a lot of the narratives about success out there are, and that's what leaves you burned out. Okay? So you have to apply the right amount of effort. No more or no less. No more or no less. It's not about being lazy. It's about applying the right amount of effort for the situation at hand. Okay? Cool. Y'all with me? Good. So now we're going to go into 5. The 5th law is and the right tools and techniques. Boom. So this is the how. This is really important. So I'm learning how to cook. I'm learning how to cook. I'm a male who's when I was single, I would only eat what I cooked, right? And you know, I host potluck dinners, and my dish would be left over at potluck dinners, and I got tired of that. So I decided to learn how to cook. And so I had all these pots and pans, I had these knives and the seasonings and things like that. But honestly, I'll be real with you, I didn't know how to use them. And then, I start watching Master Chef and learning. But a lot of us live vicariously through these TV shows. When people want to own a home, they start watching House Hunters. When they want to cook, they start watching Master Chef. When they want to start a company, they watch Shark Tank. But the reality is you can't watch. You got to get in there and you got to play. You got to try it out. And so a friend of mine, Kathy, came over. She's a chef. She's a teacher and she's a chef. And she has a side hustle teaching people how to cook, called Tutorial to Kitchen, I believe, and tutorialtokitchen.com. So check that out. Not now, but later. And she came over for a 3-hour session to teach me how to use the tools and how to use the right techniques. She showed me that I was actually using a knife wrong to chop up onions and other vegetables. She showed me that I wasn't using oils right when I was trying to saute things, right? She said she showed me how to use my wrist to make sure that I season foods properly, right? How to clean them properly. I thought that, just rinse it off, do that, put some vinegar on it or whatever, lemon juice, whatever, because of what I had seen in my home or secondhand or that I thought was right. But here I had somebody come in for 3 hours and teach me the right tools and techniques. She had me buy a paring knife. I didn't have a paring knife before that, so that I could skin the chicken. She was teaching me how to use the right tools and techniques. And guess what? Guess what happened after that 3-hour session? That's the only session that she came by for. After that 3-hour session, my cooking improved drastically. I had all these things in front of me. I had a game plan. I had the tools. I didn't know how to use them. So this one actually also includes having the right teacher. Having the right teacher. Because all of you are capable, right? But many of us haven't been taught the proper way to do certain things, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And so this can come from pioneers, this can come from mentors, this can come from people who are doing what you want to do. You have to have the right tools, techniques, and usually those right tools and techniques, you only learn them through having a teacher, because honestly, I wasn't even aware that I was using them wrong. The only way I became aware that I was using them wrong is when somebody actually came over who was better than me, actually came over and taught me. Okay? So a lot of us have these software programs, we have these computers, we have these cell phones, and the reality is that most of us aren't using them to their optimal utility, right? And so when I started my business, I was using MailChimp, and then I jumped from MailChimp as my email marketing system. I went from MailChimp to Aweber, and then that was cool, right? But it was just email marketing. And then I jumped from there to Entreport, and Entreport added more automation to my email marketing. And then finally, I jumped to Infusionsoft and ClickFunnels, right? These tools and technologies, as I advance, help me actually grow my online business. Okay? And so we have to make sure that we have the right tools and technologies, and that not only that, I go to those conferences so that I learn how to actually use those tools and technologies to their maximum use. Okay? And so this is the 5th law. The 6th law of soft work is on the right terrain. I'm going to explain what I mean by terrain. So terrain applies to many different things. It could be your industry. It could be your company. It could be the team that you're on. There are some people who, it's just like a tree. Again, I use nature. You could plant a tree. You could try to plant a pineapple tree here in Brooklyn, and guess what? It's not going to yield. Why? Because it's the wrong terrain. It has to be in the right climate. We all have in ourselves conditions for success, conditions that allow us to perform at our highest level. And only through observation, through self-observation, can we actually start to understand, wow, I perform high when I'm autonomous, or when I start working early, or when I work in the evenings, when I'm on a team, or where people are smarter than me. I perform at my best when I've eaten properly, when I'm healthy, when I'm running. I perform best when I have a great leader, when I have a mentor, when I'm just in a team of 2, right? You, over time, if you look at where you've had your greatest accomplishments, ask yourself, what are the patterns that you have, right? What are the patterns? These are your conditions for success. And oftentimes we try to we are trying to succeed in a realm where we are actually, in a realm that actually caters to our weakness, right? What is the analogy? What is the analogy? If you try to have a dog, I forgot it. I forgot it. It was something along the lines of, you know, trying to have a dog climb up a tree, right? That's something that a cat does, right? Now, there's no judgment against the dog that it can't climb up the tree. That's just not its realm. That's not its environment. That's not its nature, right? And so some of you are working in industries or have started businesses and spaces that are not of your nature, okay? They are not. They do not allow you to be all of who you are. And so a great example is a Hummer and a Ferrari. If I told you a Hummer and a Ferrari were about to engage in a race, right? Who would you say wins that race? Who would you say wins that race? Go ahead and comment. I have your comments over here. We still live? Everything working? Okay, cool. So who wins that race? Who wins that race? A Ferrari or a Hummer? Ferrari or a Hummer? Who wins the race, a Ferrari or a Hummer? I think I can see your comments. If two cars are racing, one is a Ferrari and a Hummer, who do you think is going to win the race? Most people would say Ferrari, right? Now, a Ferrari would beat a Hummer 100% of the time if it's on a straightaway racetrack. That is a terrain, right? But if all of a sudden we say, oh, I forgot to tell you, the course is actually an off-road course, now who wins? The Hummer. Right? So both cars are designed for a particular purpose and a particular reason and to succeed in a particular environment. And in the same way, we are all designed to succeed in a particular environment and a particular terrain. But we are trying to compete against a Ferrari when we're actually a Hummer, or we're a Hummer trying to compete against a Ferrari on a straightaway track. If you do that, you will always feel inadequate. You will always feel inadequate. And so it's really important for you to get clear on what is the right terrain for you. Again, this is industry, right? This is your target market, the space that you're playing. It's your company. It's your team, right? These all contribute to the terrain that you're playing on. It's your environment, okay? So 7. Cool. You're with me. Loving this, loving this, loving this. So 7 is at the right time. Timing is so important. This is when you're working. Some of you are night owls. Some of you are early birds. I'm an early bird. And yet we have these work days where we're trying to grind from 8 to 8, right? But you know that I'm actually most productive in the morning. So let me tell you what I did. When I was working in a traditional job, after proving myself at that particular company, what I did is I went to my boss and said, can I shift my hours from 9 to 5 to 6 to 2? What was it? No. Can I shift my job from 8 to 5 to 6 to 3? 6 to 3. Why did I do that? Because I knew that I was an early bird. And so what? 6 to 3 and 8 to 5, they're the same amount of hours, right? Nothing was changing in terms of the hours I was working. And so what happened? I would get to the office at 6 a.m. From 6 to 8, guess what? Nobody else was there. And so what do you think happened in those 2 hours? I was extremely productive. Nobody was bothering me. Nobody was sending me emails that didn't fit into that 20% of things that actually mattered. I was extremely focused and had the whole office to myself. And then I left at 3 o'clock. The sun was still out. I had a second half of the day ahead of me, right? Why? Because I knew I was an early bird. Now, there are other people who like to come in at 11 and leave at 7. That's perfectly fine, right? Because they know that that's when they perform at their highest. And so this is one element of timing. But many of us also have businesses or careers where the cash flow is seasonal. And so, for instance, I make probably 70 to 80% of my money in a 3-month period, right? Especially when I'm out there speaking at colleges, right? In the fall, I make a lot of my money in one particular season. So, here's the thing. I plant seeds for all that business that comes in that particular 3 months. I plant seeds for that from November to March, we've been doing seed planting, right? We've been planting seed for all that business that's going to come in at that particular time in the year, okay? So here's the thing. If I decided to do seed planting, right, the same amount of seed planting from June to November, guess what? Even with the same effort, the same energy, the same soil, I would not reap the same. Why? Because the buying cycles of my particular industry, right, actually occurs between November and March. So is this making sense? So I could give the same amount of energy in November to March or April to what is that? September. I could do the same exact thing. And because I did it in alignment with my industry, I reap way more results than I would have if I did it in a way that was not in alignment with my industry. So the college speaking business happens to be cyclical. Why? Because the academic calendar is cyclical, right? Now, of course, there are other businesses that aren't seasonal, but that was just one example of my speaking business, which is one of 3 of my different businesses, right? That's just one example that 80% of my college speaking revenue comes in a 3-month period. But that's because I planted seeds in between a 4 and 5 month period that was way before that, right? So you have to have the right timing. If your timing is off, right, you will miss out despite doing the same thing and having the same amount of effort as somebody else. Is this making sense? Cool. So finally, the 8th law of soft work is with the right team. Right? This is with. Okay? And of course, you all know I love masterminds. Masterminds is when 2 or more are gathered. There's another energy, another presence that occurs. And that's how you really know that you're on the right team, is when you are partnered with someone and you don't feel depleted. You feel like you're able to be all of who you are. And then the presence of that other person creates not 1 plus 1, but not 1 plus 1 equals 2, but 1 plus 1 equals 3, right? That there is something else that gets created because of this joining of two or more people, right? That you're not just the sum of the parts, but that something greater is there. So having a team is really important, because many of us, especially those of us who are type A, have tried to navigate this life and do everything on our own, right? If it's going to be, it's up to me. It's me against the world. Survival of the fittest. All these mentalities have us out here operating by ourselves. But when you look at the world's most successful people, guess what? None of them succeeded alone. None of them. You look at Bill Gates and Paul Allen, Steve Jobs and Wozniak, Mark Zuckerberg and his entire crew that he took to Palo Alto. You look at Hewlett and Packard. You look at Jay-Z and Beyonce, or Jay-Z and Damon Dash, right? All of the world's most successful people, they usually have somebody else. They have somebody else. Ben Franklin had what he called the Junto. C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien, they had a mastermind called the Inklings, right? Even Warren Buffett had Paul Graham, his mentor, and they had the Graham Group that comes together and still comes together today, even though his mentor has passed on, and it brings together brilliant minds. See, a lot of us think we're going to outthink the world, and the reality is that because information is expanding so quickly, there's no way for one individual to outsmart everyone, right? But if you actually have a community, and that community has experts, and the members of that community have expertise in the various areas that are relevant to your success and what you're trying to create, that's going to accelerate your process. And so this doesn't mean that you have to go hire somebody, especially if you're an employee. You might not be able to hire someone. But this means, for me, how I built my team from it just being me, one, I started out with outsourcing, right? Finding contractors, delegating work, virtual assistants, right? Finding other companies to do services that I didn't need to be doing. I don't need to be shipping, right? So I need to find a company partner to do that for me, right? So you delegate, you outsource, or you automate. Some of you need to try out Fresh Direct, right? We all have a team. But I don't think you've thought of it as your team before. How many of you cut your own hair? If not, you have a hairstylist or a barber. How many of you know how to fix your own car? You have a mechanic on your team. How many of you know how to pull your own teeth, right? No, you have a dentist, right? So we all have a team, and that team is the people that you rely on to do the things that you're not capable of, or not qualified to do. But I'm encouraging you to create a team in specifically around the work that you do on a daily basis. Not just these things like pulling teeth, right? I don't want you out there pulling your own teeth. I'm talking about in relationship to the work that you do so that you can focus on the 20% of things that actually matter and that you're great at, where your unique value actually lies. Okay? So that is the 8 laws. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over here and I'm going to take questions. If you found this valuable and you want to make sure that you don't miss the next episode, go to freeme.tv. Amparo, if you can put that in the chat, go to freeme.tv and put in your name and email address, and you'll get email reminders about the next time we go live. I also have 2 free gifts that I'm going to give to you to help you navigate this entrepreneur reality and move closer towards freedom. It's been a pleasure sharing this with you. I'm going to open it up for questions. I can see you live here. I can see you live. Your comments are coming through. And so please let me know what questions you have. What questions do you have? You're welcome, Chris. I'm glad you found this valuable. Hey, Brenda, Ty, Kawanza, what's going on? Takia, Kathleen, Yomi, Rico, what's good? What's good? What's good? Any questions? Brenda, how do you feel about bartering for services? And then what technology are you using to write on the screen? Great question. So, of course, I got a flat screen here. Then I have an iPad. I have an iPad Pro here with the iPen. And then that actually goes to my computer, which is connected to this monitor via a program called Air Server. And then I have a camera that is connected to a program called OBS that allows me to do Facebook Live via camera as opposed to just my webcam. Okay, great question. It is the setup can be a little bit expensive. You got the TV, you got to have the right laptop and the right connections. A newer laptop, iPad Pro, iPen, you got to have a camera. So the setup can be a little, it can be a little bit pricey depending on where you're at in your particular income or savings. But this is the way I teach best. And so I realized that I had to invest in it. I didn't see this is a distinction that I'll share with you. The difference between expensive and expansive. A lot of us buy expensive stuff, right? And expensive stuff is just money out the door. You'll never see it again. It's gone, but you have this thing. Expansive means that you sent the money out the door, but you know that this thing is actually going to create more value for you in the future, right? And so I saw this as being expansive, and so I had no hesitation to go invest in this and create this setup. Brenda, how do you feel about bartering for services? How do I feel about bartering for services? I think that's fine. But you know, the exchange rate is not always equal. Like 1 hour of your time may not be worth 1 hour of their time, right? And so it's not like trading a cow for 1 apple. That doesn't line up. And so sometimes it's just easier to navigate in money based on the market value of your services versus their services. So maybe 2 hours of your time or something that you create is worth 1 hour of their time. Then, yeah, I would barter based on the market value of the actual services or products you're bartering for, not a one-for-one exchange. All right. But this can actually help you move towards soft work when you are outsourcing, delegating things to other people or organizations that allow you to focus on what's really important for you. Okay. Great. How do you find mentors? Thanks again. Mentors. So what I found is that actually I should do a mentor framework because I actually have one. But I'll tell you really quickly. Mentors, I found 3 things. One, you go do something amazing for somebody prior to even asking them for anything. So if you want mentorship from somebody, you might go look at their website and actually spell check everything on there and then send them that, right? If that's, I mean, this is just a random example. So you've actually initiated the relationship by giving of your time and actually creating value for them before even asking for anything. And once they've seen that, they'll know that this person is actually serious and actually committed to doing the work. But I've also seen that mentors come in a variety of ways. They either see themselves in you, right? So you have to be doing amazing stuff to get amazing mentors, because they see themselves in you and they want to support you. They see their younger selves in you, or they see you doing something that they wish they would have done. They see you doing something that they wish they would have done. Okay, so and then the third way is just to buy your way into mentorship, right? People buy access to my mastermind, right? You can buy your way into mentorship, right? Rather than waiting passively for people to come into your life or you to bump into them. Sometimes to get close to people, you have to invest, right? Now, for me, one thing that I do when my mentors come to town, if they're too busy, this is example of another example of buying in without being in somebody's mastermind or course. When my mentors come to town and they're too busy, I will ask them, when are they leaving, right? And I will go meet them wherever they're taking a cab from to JFK or LaGuardia, and I will take that cab with them and then find my way home from there. That's how valuable my mentor relationships are. I will invite them. We know that our mentors eat. I don't know if you have any mentors that don't eat. I will invite my mentors to go to their favorite restaurant, and I'll take them and I'll pay, right? What's $150 when they're going to give me a wealth of wisdom? Remember, I always say, stop giving away your 2 cents when you have a gold mine. Mentors don't have time for you to just pick their brain, right? They don't have time. Oh, yeah, I'd like to take you out to Starbucks. You think I'm going to give you an hour of my time for a $5 coffee? Plus all my travel to get to that Starbucks and back to where I was? It makes no sense whatsoever, right? So there's no picking my brain. If somebody's really serious, they have to actually prove it to me in advance if they want mentorship from me, okay? Great question. You're welcome, Kwanzaa. It's good to see you. 3 actions that I take. The 3 actions that I take, Deborah, are creating content, attracting new customers, and making offers. You're welcome, Rico. Let me see, a different question out there. What advice do you have on selling? Yomi, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to give you a framework for that. So Amparo, please take a note for me to do a framework on my sales process. Before you even get in the sales conversation, we have to make sure that people actually want what it is that you're selling. That's the number one key to selling something. It's hard to sell something that nobody wants. So I do have a framework. It's actually called drugs. DRUGS. I have a framework called drugs, how to sell drugs. Yes, that I would love to share with you all. I'll put that up for vote next time probably. Okay. Is that it on questions? I'm scrolling down. Okay. That's looking like that's it. So I need you to do me a huge favor. Right now, it looks like we only have 2 shares on this video. If you found this video valuable, now that we're at the end, please share it with a friend. Now that we're at the end and you've seen it all, right? Because I asked you to share on faith before. Now you've seen it, you've experienced it. Please click the share button. Spread this as widely as possible. I mean, think about all the other things that you've shared on the internet, right? Shared from your Facebook profile that might be a break away from work, right? Might be something to laugh at, but it's not going to really add huge value to somebody's life. If this added value to your life, the number one way you can support me and thank me is by simply sharing this video. Click the share button, put it on your pages, put it on your profiles. Facebook will start giving us some love. We'll start conquering and or overcoming its limiting algorithm. And if you're on YouTube, same thing. Subscribe to the channel first and then share. For those of you who just happen to stumble upon this, go to freeme.tv, freeme.tv, enter your name and email address, and you will start to get email reminders about the upcoming show. so that you can make time for your lunch breakthrough. I also have 2 gifts and bonuses for you when you sign up. That'll help you, 2 of my favorite tools to help you get more free in your personal life and in your business life. Okay? So this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you, Kathleen, for sharing. Let me see. I'm about to refresh really quickly. I need to see these share numbers go up. We got to get the word out to as many people as possible. So please click share. And with that, that concludes today's episode. We're going to tally up the votes. We're going to tally up the votes, and that will determine what we're going to talk about next Tuesday at 12:30. Go ahead and put in your phone alarm for now. Put in a phone alarm for 12:15, 12:20 Eastern Standard Time, so that you can be here and you don't miss it. All right. Join us in our Freedom Finders private Facebook group. The way to get there is to go to freeme.tv. And once you enter your name and email address, you'll get to the thank you page, and there'll be a link to join our group, and we will add you ASAP. Again, thank you. Go ahead and share this, and I will see you next Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time for our next lunch breakthrough. Again, this is Julian Gordon, Frameworks for Freedom, and I wish you all more freedom. Peace.